I'm always kind of interested in the challenge of a project more than just the final piece itself. The process of kind of thinking through the steps that I have to kind of figure out. That's an interesting part of woodworking at this point in my life. That's the circuit. I gotta go flip the breaker. There's a 30% chance that this trips a circuit breaker. We'll see. Oh man, just a few inches shy. This lamp here was one of the first pieces that I made that integrated the hole pattern in it. So these are all individually cut and shaped pieces. There's about 430 some odd holes on this thing. And this is I call this the volcano lamp. It's influenced by some of the shapes and patterns and organic forms of the natural world. So there's like a hexagonal pattern that's kind of integrated into it throughout, and the holes are hexagonal, roughly hexagonal. That's a common shape in nature. So I look to, look for different influences around the natural world that sometimes drive some of the designs and textures and things that I make. This is called hippocampus wave, which is, hippocampus is the Latin term that you use for seahorses, but it's also part of like your brain's memory center, and there's kind of obviously like an oceanic theme to that. This is a sculpted hand axe from, I don't know, 1.2 million year old tool that early humans used, so I kind of made an extra piece out of that. So yeah, just a lot of sculptural forms, some other pieces here. Again, kind of mid-century ocean feel. This shape right here is very similar to the lava or the volcano lamp that I just showed. And then extra pieces of rosewood, obviously an oceanic theme. And then these are little fossil bits right here from Cincinnati. So these are oceanic fossils when Cincinnati was underwater 400 million years ago. We were a tropical ocean. Well, right now I'm working on a big dining table that is made from a pretty rare wood called bog oak. And bog oak is essentially wood that is recovered from bogs in Europe. And a bog is an anaerobic environment. So anaerobic meaning it doesn't have a lot of oxygen in it, so the wood is preserved while it's kind of in these muddy bogs. And this particular log could be, 1,000, could be 4,000 plus years old. So it's got some really interesting color and grain that is unique to it. Really thinking about the final end product, the final design, and what I want the top to look like visually starts as early as now, and kind of planning out how I want to cut the boards, how I follow the grain, how I kind of match the board next to it so that there's some consistency in color. That all kind of plays out here, and then that'll get refined more once we kind of get into further steps of cutting it to the final width, planing the board down, joining them together, and kind of matching the boards in a way that looks good visually. So a lot of my projects start out in the garage simply because I can't get a 14-foot long, 200-pound board into my walkout basement workshop. So all right. So that process just a lot of times. This is the beauty of a workshop in the basement. I've gotten good at navigating. This is light. Most of the time they're twice as wide and twice as heavy. The challenge of a small work area is evident. Everything has to be mobile, portable, on wheels. It's just kind of comes with the territory. I've had to move the table saw over there once because I had to make a cut with a really tall piece that had to fit between the rafters, and it was about 1.5 inches of clearance right below those screw heads. So over 25 years of woodworking, you start to notice the smells. You remember the smells of different woods: maple, oak, cherry, and then when you start using other imported species like sapele, that smells like kind of a cinnamon nutmeg flavor. I cut into some old growth pine for a project a while back. That was quite an odor. Teak. Some people say teak smells like horse manure. I don't think so. Yeah, so 84 inches by 42 main piece, and then 2 table leaf extensions with the grain that goes in the opposite direction. Kind of an upper set of stretchers across the top, and then a very heavy rectilinear base. Yeah, I knocked out a wall that I had put up when I originally moved into the house 18 years ago, and basically added another 35 or 40% onto the floor space. So it's amazing what 150 square feet will do to your work area. My bench used to be here, and my tool wall used to be here as well. Now I've got a bench where I can work around on all sides, which is really handy. And then I've got room where I can move tools out of the way in this section, and I've got now the tabletop all kind of laid out here, and all the parts are kind of starting to come together. All this takes time. Part of this, I suppose, no one will ever see, but whether it's being a perfectionist or just taking pride in your work, I guess. This is sometimes that Zen work that doesn't require a lot of mental thought, but you can just kind of get into the flow and do this for as long as it takes. Couldn't do this when my workbench was against the wall. Every time I'm down here, I learn of a new benefit of just enlarging the space. Getting things to fit snugly and tight is, in many cases, getting everything flat and square and 90 degrees, so everything kind of registers against an even surface. Because what happens is that if it's off a little bit, like a 1/16 of an inch or a 32nd of an inch on one end, the other end, it gets magnified the longer the distance. So that's the other thing. Like in a small shop, you don't have the benefit of large industrial sized tools and setups that give you, just it makes it easier to cut pieces and keep things flat and square and straight and long. And the smaller shop, you got to figure out alternative ways, and you cut it in a slightly less refined way, and then you come in with hand tools and clean it up. So now I've got these parts. These are kind of the support rails that will, basically these need to come in a little bit more. So there'll be one there, and then one on this side. And then I'm going to be doing some countersunk brass lag screws, because this thing needs to kind of come apart and be assembled to move. So then we'll be able to get this together and we can throw the top on. After I got this side piece glued up, I discovered that there was a very fine hairline split that went down here. Not too deep, but that split could cause not only weakness, but also just a little bit more movement. So I put these butterflies in, which kind of follow the split line, and they have a nice little contrast on them. So I'll put some denatured alcohol on it to show you what it looks like. And these butterflies are from an offcut of this piece of wood right here. Everything has a purpose. And these go at least halfway down, so they're gonna hold this thing together and flat. I went from like my rotary sander to sanding with the grain, and I'm basically just trying to find any other swirly sand marks or just marks in general on the table. It all depends on the way the light and your eye is hitting it. So you can find all sorts of different little marks that kind of show up. I think we're good. Yeah, I think this is ready for finishing. I just found another mark. All right, let's finish it. Good feeling to see a piece that you put a lot of effort into and a lot of time in its final place in a home. You know, I mean, the whole point of this is that this becomes a gathering place, right? The table has a story, the wood has a story, and now this is where people will gather around the table and share other stories.